to help local communities.
Okay, for our viewers now, we have some family videos on preparedness. Let's watch the first one now.
Today I'd like to talk to you about what you can do to protect yourself and your family in an emergency. Family disaster preparedness is worth thinking about because disaster can strike at any time, often without warning. Every community is at risk. It could be a hurricane, earthquake, winter storm and extreme cold, flooding, house fire, industrial fire, or a chemical or hazardous materials accident. Disasters happen all too often, and they can affect any of us. They can leave people in distress and feeling alone, or trapped and stranded for days. Disaster can cut you off from basic services, such as fresh water and electricity or gas, for a week or more, or force people to leave their homes and seek shelter elsewhere. If something happens, emergency response and community volunteers will try to help you recover and cope with the situation. But in any disaster, you must be ready to act on your own to protect yourself and your family. So the question is, how do you begin? A good place to start is by assembling the disaster supplies that you would need to survive a disaster for at least 3 days. It's called a disaster supplies kit, and it contains common household items that you could need but might not have time to find in time of need. Here you see a neighborhood group meeting. This night, they're learning how to put together a disaster supplies kit. The key is to have all of your disaster supplies stored in one easily accessible container. So if you needed to evacuate, you could grab the kit and leave immediately. Or if you were caught at home without basic services such as gas, water, or electricity. Suggested methods for storing disaster supplies are to place them in a large covered trash container, a camping backpack, or a duffel bag. The point is to have all the supplies in one place. There are basically 6 kinds of supplies that should be included in your disaster supplies kit: water, food, first aid, clothing and bedding, tools and emergency supplies, and special items your family might need. As we discuss each category, I'll give you recommendations on what to stock. Keep in mind that 3 days is the minimum amount of time you should be prepared to get by on your own. And as I do, you can think about how to individualize the kit to meet your personal needs. First, and most important, is water. A healthy adult can survive without food for a week or more, but can live for only 3 or 4 days without water. You need to allow at least 1 gallon of water per person per day, 2 quarts for drinking, and 2 quarts for food preparation and sanitation purposes. The water should be stored in plastic containers, such as soda bottles. Avoid using containers that will decompose or break, such as mason jars or glass bottles. Empty containers can be placed in the kit ready to be filled with water in the event of an emergency. Full containers of water should also be maintained for use in case the water supply is cut off during a disaster. This stored water supply should be changed every 3 months to remain fresh. It is best to place filled water containers on top of the kit's contents rather than on the bottom, where they could possibly crack and leak from the weight of heavy objects placed on top of them. Next is food. You should include in your kit at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food. Choose foods that require no refrigeration, cooking, or preparation. If heating food is essential, pack a can of Sterno. The food items should be compact and lightweight, such as freeze-dried foods in sealed packages or small cans. Remember the can opener. There is no need to rush out and buy large supplies of food you have never tried. The canned foods, dry mixes, and other staples in your cupboard are well suited for emergencies. Recommended items include canned meats such as tuna fish, low-salt ham, beef stew, or Vienna sausages, which can be eaten straight from the can. Canned or boxed vegetables. If you have powdered foods, you will need to store more water. Canned fruits and juices. Canned soup. Again, if you have powdered soup, you will need to store more water. You also need to include special supplies, such as mess kits, aluminum foil, and storage containers. Remember, when storing food, pay particular attention to the needs of infants, invalids, diabetics, the elderly, and family members who are allergic to certain foods, if these apply to your situation.